Hey everyone, welcome back to Today in Tech. I'm Juliette Beauchamp. I am here with Macworld's Michael Simon, as well as Computer World Executive Editor Ken Mingus. So guys, I know for a fact that you were both watching. I was watching WWDC. Ken, I know that we're pretty much out the door to buy the new BMW that's going to allow you to use your phone as the keys. So I want to hear what you guys...
Car key, must have.
I want to hear some of the things that you guys are most excited for and impressed by. I am pretty impressed as an iPhone user in my personal life about a lot of the iOS 14 changes and updates, but I want to hear what you guys think.
I was most impressed by the presentation itself. I want Apple to do that all the time.
Exactly. Can we just do this every year now?
It was fantastic. Both as a spectator and a journalist, it was awesome.
I didn't miss having everybody there applauding, like,
Not
you know,
in the slightest.
The craziest things. It was actually 2 hours worth of full information.
In fact, it was faster moving. It was engaging. It was
Craig,
highly well produced.
Yeah, it was really, really well done. And even though I'm not going to go out and buy a BMW just so I can get car key, I was impressed. I'm also impressed.
It's only like 55,000, Ken. You can afford it on our journalism IDG sellers.
I'm just going to say that I was also impressed that Juliette could say WWDC this time. WWDC.
Barely.
I have to admit, I did manage to download the new version of iOS 14 for the iPad and my phone, and I can't talk about them because, of course, it's a developer thing. But I can say they're stable. I'm using them.
Yeah, I've heard that online that all of them, iOS, Mac, iPad, and I guess the watch too, that they're all surprisingly stable for this early on in the process.
I had some issues with Mac OS, and but that was related more to the corporate VPN, which is not Apple's fault.
Yes, so I heard that from one of our guys too, that it didn't work.
That's not unusual. That happens just about every year.
That's an app thing, not a system thing.
But I do want to say something about Mac OS. I really like the look. I know that they were really talking up the UI and the changes, that, different palette and the shading and everything. It's a little more. I saw some criticism that it was kind of cartoony compared to what earlier versions of Mac OS have been. I really like it. It's a nice color palette.
It's very obviously very inspired by iOS and iPad OS, and you can kind of see like this is going to be a flashpoint in the development of all this stuff. The elephant in the room. They're switching to their own silicon. They didn't say the word ARM, so they're not getting technical. But what they're doing is they're changing the Mac processors to Apple Silicon, which won't be an A14 in a Mac. It's going to be way more advanced than that. Based on what they were saying, based on what they were demoing, that was real high level stuff that they were doing. The stuff that you can do with an Intel Xeon processor now, they were doing with whatever they were using in their labs. So the developer kit is an A14Z. That's not at all what we're going to get when these things arrive. But even more than that, the synergy between the iPhone, the iPad, and the Mac is going to just completely break down all these little barriers that we have now. For one, iOS apps are just going to be all over the place. Like Apple literally just opened the door and said, "All right, everybody, come on in." Yeah. Catalyst was the first bit, but now like, everything you make for the iPhone is going to be instantly available for use on the Mac, and that's going to open up the Mac to a whole new level of what it can do. The Mac is very much a niche productivity device, and I don't think Apple wants it to be that. I think Apple is working towards someone going into an Apple store and saying, what form factor would I rather have, a tablet or a laptop?
Yeah, it takes the conversation away from like the different operating systems, excuse me, and the different versions of apps that you have to choose from, and saying, and this is what Apple does. It is a hardware company. What works best for me? Mobile device, tablet, desktop, laptop, and the software will be will stretch across all of those devices in a way that's much more unifying than anything we've seen before, I think.
Yeah, both visually and in how they work. The iPad's getting a touch, has the trackpad. They were playing up the Apple Pencil stuff. So, it's going to be about, how do you want to work? Where do you want to work? And, what do you want to not necessarily do, But what comfort level do you want to work at? Do you want to hold a 13-inch tablet? Do you want to open up a clamshell laptop? And I think the choice eventually, we're a couple of years away from all of this. They said 2 years for the transition. And I think it'll probably be less than that. Apple likes to underpromise and overdeliver. But, say a year and a half, I think, the Mac is going to, the Mac and the iPad are, the difference between them are really going to kind of blur down to just, your choice of convenience.
Could this be the mythical in-between device, Michael?
Yeah.
Maybe there is. Maybe
I don't even
there
know if
is
it's
no,
in between at this point.
Well, that's what I was going to say. There
Yeah.
is no in-between. We've always talked in the past. We've talked about this, Juliet. It's been about is Apple going to build a laptop that's more like a tablet, or a tablet that's more like a laptop? The Surface thing, and that whole distinction sort of goes away now. It doesn't really matter because, as you say, you figure out what it is you need to do.
Yeah.
And then pick whichever form factor works best.
And we're getting closer to that. The Magic Keyboard thing is closest to a laptop. I can use it in my lap somewhat comfortably. And, I don't think the Mac is ever going to get touch, but we're getting
I actually hope not. I hope not.
Yeah, we probably don't need it. Maybe on the iMac, with the larger screen. And I don't know.
I don't want to touch my screen like that.
You don't want to touch your screen, but when you open up your iPad, you do. What's the difference?
Correct. The iPad is small and I'm not sure.
Same 13 inches as a MacBook Pro.
But again, the same thing is true with the iPad. If I've got something on the screen in front of me and I'm doing like this, it's like my finger's in the way of what I need to see.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Which is why I really like the Magic Keyboard on the iPad.
Yeah, but you need to touch sometimes with the Magic Keyboard, and things take longer because you're activating this or that, or it's still not quite there yet. So yeah, I don't know what Apple's vision is, but I do think that there is the MacBook device doesn't exist right now. They took it away, and I do think that they're working on something that will take all of this in a powerful device that's extremely versatile and runs, whatever OS reaches the level, whether Mac OS combines with iOS or whatever it is. Combines the wrong word, but reaches a level of parity. Yeah. I do think that we're probably 3 to 5 years away, but I do think Apple will release a brand new notebook portable type Mac that just blows the doors off of everything everyone's been trying to do, including themselves.
The 2024 MacBook, it'll be here in 4 years,
I do. I think all of this are steps. Apple likes to take, I always say that Apple doesn't iterate in public, and they don't, but they do take all these little things and learn from the stuff that they release to make a larger product, like Apple Watch or HomePod.
Which they already know what that product is.
Oh,
we
they
don't
certainly
know what the
do.
iterations are, but
they know what they want it to be. They just they're not there yet.
Yeah.
So rather than hoist it upon us and have people struggle with it, they're going to wait 2-3 years before they get there. And we'll talk about it in a bit, but iOS 14 is a perfect example of that.
Just one quick question. We can go right into it. Do we think we're going to get Apple Silicon-based hardware this year, or are they going to wait till
Well,
January,
Tim Cook
February?
said it. He said the
say
plan
late
is
this
to
year?
ship the first Apple Silicon-based Mac by the end of this year. That's what he said.
I think it's an iMac.
The rumors are, 13-inch MacBook Pro and the iMac, the new iMac. But he also said they're still going to make and support, obviously. But he specifically said that there is new Intel hardware in the pipeline.
Yeah.
So Intel's not done. Back when they announced the Intel transition, we didn't see G5 anymore. It was done.
Yeah.
Tim Cook said, we're going to support Intel and we're going to release new Intel products. He said, quote, for years to come. I don't know what that means, but I would be very surprised if the Mac Pro this time next year has an Apple Silicon-based processor. Something like that. These higher end work machines, they got to be very slow and very meticulous and very deliberate about how and when they upgrade those.
Mm-hmm.
Question for you, Michael. I'm sorry, Juliet. Were you going to say something?
No, please go ahead.
Okay. I wanted to jump right in because we were talking about iOS 14 a minute ago.
Yeah.
Michael, one of the things that you had requested that Tim Cook
requested
was
for probably 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. Would be a change to the desktop or the home screen of iOS 14 or iPad OS. Are you happy with the?
I think I think it's fantastic. I mean, I've used
Why?
Android. I use Android regularly, and I like the way Android does it. I like it's very simple. You swipe up, you get your apps. You swipe down, and they're gone. You can put your apps on the screen, and there's widgets and everything else, and it works well. Apple took that idea and just did it. They just did it better. It's just there's no other way to say it. It's just better.
I want to get you on TV with on video with J.R. Raphael, because he's our Android guy
Yeah,
at
yeah.
Computer World. He and I were talking about this after the event. He's like, "Oh, well, welcome to Android 8." I'm like,
Well,
right,
and I agree with him. I do.
There is
I mean,
truth
it's
to it.
clear that it's inspired, maybe even stolen. I wrote an article today, and the headline was that Apple stole iOS 14 features and made them better. Yeah, I don't think anybody is going to argue that it's new or innovative or even inventive, but it's better. It's a smarter way to do it. It's a more modern way to do it. It's a prettier way to do it. Widgets are, they're glanceable, they're resizable. Everything kind of flows around it. You could hide your home screens. So that means you can set one up and then just get rid of it.
Yeah.
So it's not just a straight up alphabetical list of apps. It's different pages that you can have when you need them. It's all very smart. It's all very intuitive. And that coupled with the new search stuff that's fast and deeper and all that, it just turns your iPhone from a very stale kind of device that you got to swipe through all these things to a real smart, fast, modern, very versatile handset. I mean, I think iOS 14 is going to turn the old iPhone into something, really, really great.
Do we think that Siri is going to be much improved and much better now than Siri ever has been before?
Marginally better. I mean, they kind of buzzed through the Siri stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some translation
I know it
stuff
looks
that's
different.
better. And
the translation,
Yeah.
the translation app I thought could be
the
really
app
cool.
looks very cool. Yeah, that's all on device stuff. But also, like Siri itself, like you can ask and they'll translate. I think it was 10 languages that it can translate. It's better at web stuff. Like it won't just ship you off to a website, or it'll actually but Alexa does that. Google Assistant does that. Like these aren't novel things. We're still waiting for the real Siri breakthrough, and I do believe it's coming at some point.
We haven't seen it yet, though.
But it's not quite there yet.
Mm-hmm. I'm really looking forward to the aspects of iOS 14 and how the widgets work. It's going to truly completely change the way that I use my iPhone, because so often my apps are organized in like 3 different folders, all on the one screen, because I hate having to swipe through multiple screens.
Yeah, you and everyone else. Yeah.
Exactly. And I end up just searching for my most used apps. So, my most used apps, when I go to search for them, are usually there because, I've got, messages, Twitter, mail, whatever, Spotify, but really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to the personal thing that I personally requested Tim Cook to put in, not really, is the ability to like tag people in messages. I
actually thought of it. I thought of you when I heard
the same thing. I thought Julia
I was like,
it
it revolutionizes
it's
my group
idea.
chat of my friends from college. I'm really looking forward to that. But it seems like it is that the way that everything mirrors each other is going to be huge. I mean, just for, consumers and enterprise users alike, it's going to like completely change the way that you use your Apple products for work and in your personal life.
And what's really great about it is if you like it the way you have it, you can keep it.
Leave it
you
alone.
Don't have to change anything. It's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, it's interesting because when it comes to using, for instance, the iPhone, I've noticed the way I organize mine is the apps that I use the most, that I need at any given time. That's my first screen. And I rarely have to leave the first screen. Once in a while, I'll have to swipe a couple of times and find something that I know that I've buried 3 screens in because I don't need it that often. So I'm really sort of very happy with one screen with some ancillary things.
Yeah,
that said,
on my Android phone, I have literally 5 apps on my home screen. That's it, because it's the 5 that I use most often is Twitter and mail and messages, and the rest of the stuff I quickly can search or I can swipe up to get it, and I don't need them like the camera, for example. I don't need it every day, so when I do need it, I can just quickly grab it. And on my iPhone, wherever it is, I have 4 pages of apps. And I don't bother organizing because I don't use it long enough to care. So it's an annoying mess. And this is just so much better. Even the app library, the way they organize that in folders, and they make the ones you use more show up bigger. Like, it just seems all very smart and very intuitive and very user friendly.
Yeah, agreed.
And taking the best of Android and giving it to Apple users like me who have never known Android, so I can pretend it's a totally new and unique
There was a lot.
concept.
There's a lot in iOS 14 that was cribbed from Android. A lot.
But that's, but you see it both ways.
Of
And
course.
again, JR and I have talked about this.
Google completely lifted Apple's navigation. Completely.
Swipes.
Part
Absolutely.
and parcel.
Yes.
We just taken this. And they had no reason to do it. They just took it. Android has had virtual navigation forever. But as soon as Apple did it, we're doing this now. It's the same thing with the back swipe and the indicator at the bottom. I'm not blaming Apple for doing it. I'm not blaming Android for doing it either. I mean, I like it. I like this
users benefit, which is the whole point.
Yes.
Users benefit,
Of course, if there's a good feature, take it. Go ahead. I want Google to steal the app library from Apple. I wrote about it today. I hope it does. I hope in 2 years we have the same thing because it's good.
Yeah.
Smart.
Hey, what about Mac OS beyond the UI changes and I guess it's the sidebar that's going to be much more prevalent in the new icons,
the control center, like it mostly seemed to be an iOSification of the Mac. Yeah. What's interesting about it is that it's now Mac OS 11 for the first time in 20 years? Has it been that long? Yeah, I think it has. Yeah, it's been about 20 years, and they didn't even mention it. Like, there was no ceremonious, we're bidding farewell to Mac OS 10.
Burying, I come to praise.
It was accidentally discovered in one of the screenshots that it's Mac OS 11 now. It's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the software and the Mac and all that stuff is going to come in. Like, we'll see more of that once that first Mac lands. Like, I am dying to know how fast these things are. Apple has gone through great lengths through all these different channels to let us know, like, listen, the developer kit is not what is going to be released. Right. And they didn't do that with Intel. Intel, you knew what you were getting. The Intel, I don't remember what the processor was back then, but you knew what it was. You knew the general speed. We have no idea what Apple is working on for the Mac. We have no clue. We don't. Literally nothing.
I do worry that my 6-month-old 16-inch MacBook Pro, even though it will work perfectly fine and probably until 2030, will instantly feel outdated the second the Apple Silicon MacBook Pro comes out next year or the year after.
For sure. Jason Cross wrote an article yesterday that you'd be absolutely out of your mind to buy a Mac right now, unless you physically breaks and you need it.
Yeah.
Wait, because we don't know what is behind door number 1. And once that arrives, I mean, the MacBook could be 5 millimeters thinner. The bezel could be completely gone. It could be twice as fast. We don't know, because this is the first time, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is the first time a PC manufacturer has had control over the whole stack. Intel doesn't make computers. Microsoft doesn't make processors. HP doesn't make processors. So Apple can now do with the Mac what it does with the iPhone. Now, Samsung makes great phones. All right, I won't use Google. Samsung makes great phones. OnePlus makes great phones. Nothing that I've used on the Android side is as good as an iPhone. Nothing.
Yeah.
Because for a simple reason that Apple controls all of this. They make the silicon. They control the heat. They control the speed. They control the design of the logic board. All of that. The only thing that they're dependent on is a couple of chips here and there from Qualcomm, the modem, and things like that. The main guts is them. So they're able to engineer things that other manufacturers just they simply cannot do. And now we're going to see what they can do with the PC. And man, I'm excited.
It did occur to me that we may be seeing some serious form factor changes, not just tweaks and trimming a little bit here, a little bit there. You could really see some radical changes based on what Apple can do, because now it knows, and it has a game plan for 5 or 10 years out, so it can start to iterate those things in the next couple of years, knowing that in 2030, whatever the MacBook Pro is or whatever the iMac is, whatever, they could all look different because they, as you say, they've got control of the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, and AI stuff, neural stuff. There's so much more they can do now that they aren't relying on Intel to deliver the brains of this thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're making the point over and over with what we're talking about. iOS 14.
Well, we got to fill a little bit of time here, Ken.
Well, no. I was going to say the end. No, I'm making my point though that if you're looking at the highlights from WWDC, iOS 14 and the Apple Silicon, those are
for sure.
I mean,
the watch was fine.
Tell me about
TV was
Apple
fine.
Watch 7. Tell me about Apple TV Plus.
I mean,
I do want to see Foundation.
Sleep tracking is good. I think that it's very rudimentary at the moment, and with WatchOS, Watch Series 6, are they up to? I think that battery life will be way better. They'll have a better heart sensor so they can do deep sleep tracking and things like that. I think the sleep is like, we're just seeing the first part of it. This is just very base level stuff, but it's good that Apple finally is doing sleep tracking, because that's one of my favorite features of Fitbit. Like, they do a ridiculously good job of sleep tracking, and Apple never natively did it, and now they are. So we'll see that develop. There are good things, but yeah, iOS, Mac, the iPad, I was straight up disappointed in.
Yeah.
Like, the pencil stuff is cool and all, but where's the multitasking changes? Where's the trackpad stuff?
I wouldn't use Scribble, the pencil with Scribble, because my handwriting is so bad and I don't like writing anymore. As a former reporter, I used to write a lot all the time. It was still bad. But now I don't. When's the last
I don't
time
know
you
if
wrote something?
I guess I would try it. I've never really used it as that tool, but maybe now that I can use it as I don't have to put it down and pick it up and stuff, maybe it would be better. But I wanted like real high level multitasking changes and trackpad stuff, and they didn't even mention that.
No.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Maybe we're getting it in October with the new iPad or something. But I was not impressed with the iPad, because it's iOS 14 stuff minus the app library, so you don't even get the good stuff. And you can also use your Apple Pencil to write in Safari websites. Like, okay, like who's asking for that?
www.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that we've pretty much got it all. Is there anything else glaring that you guys have really strong opinions on that you want to touch on before we go?
I wish car key was one word. I don't understand why it's two words. When I type car keys into Google, get a bunch of things that isn't Apple. Everything else is one word for Apple. Why is that two?
Yeah. Well, Apple Watch, that's two words, but
that's a symbol, technically.
And CarPlay, that's one word or two words?
That's one word.
One word. Then you're right.
WatchOS, macOS.
Oh, that's you reminded me. I love the background wallpaper in CarPlay. I love that. It looks great.
Right, the most important thing to come out of it.
Exactly, for me. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Truly, always a pleasure. I had a great time watching it on Monday and thinking about all the opinions that I knew that you guys were going to have, and it's super fun to hear them. I don't think I want to know how badly I sleep, especially how badly I've been sleeping over the past, 4 months, but it's great that they're adding it to the Apple Watch.
I'm always horrified when I see my sleep score on Fitbit. It's awful.
I think I would prefer not to know for myself. That being said, it's all really cool updates that are going to be coming. When can we expect the public beta?
Well, they always say fall, which public beta is July.
Public beta. Isn't that usually like 3 weeks or so? Yeah.
Yeah, they said July. So any time from next week till the end of July, probably somewhere in the middle. So yeah, about 2 to 3 weeks.
And then
you can. And this year, WatchOS is a public beta too. So first time that you can download the beta onto your watch.
Great. Well, thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Juliet.
And thank you all so much for watching this episode of Today in Tech. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Hit the notification bell so you're alerted every single time we post a new video. And let us know in the comments below what your least favorite announcements from WWDC were, the crazy things that you can't believe. Let me know, and I'll see you next time.